So in this video, I'm going to get into the auto spool functionality that eVolve Mechanical has for us. Um, in a nutshell, what auto spool does is it tries to predict, um, based off of some preset information that we give it, the best way to spool something out for us. So, we can tell it, hey, I want 20-foot spools. I want 40-foot spools. I only want my spools to weigh this much. There's only so much weight that cranes or people can lift, and eVolve will go through and on the service that you select and give you um, give you its best guess for how we should break it up. So the auto spool button in the eVolve Mechanical tab lives here in the spooling panel underneath the define spool dropdown. If you click auto spool, a pop-up comes up, and this is where you set your presets about how do you want to break up the spools. Now this changes from job to job. Some people want it 20 feet. Some people want 10-foot spools. Some people might be more concerned with the weight. Our standard here for duct at MLP is to try and include as many pieces on a sheet as possible. So I'm going to set my length to 40, my width to 40, and my height to 6. You might be wondering, what do these maximum dimensions refer to in relation to one of these systems? I'm going to cancel out, and if I look at it on the top, the length refers to how long do I want this spool to be in a single run. So from here to here, straight down is my length. So if I have that set at 10 feet, I might only get about 10 feet of duct. If I have it set at 20 feet, it's going to spool something that is, that ends at 20 feet. As far as the width is concerned, the width refers to how much, left and right do I want to include with that. So in this case, if I only, if I had it at 10 or 15 feet, it might turn the corner and include this first piece on it. In this case, I've got it set to 40 feet, so it's actually going to spool out this entire run because it's within those constraints, lengthwise 40 feet, widthwise 40 feet. As far as the height, it's referring to, the vertical height up and down that we want the spool to travel. And in this case, I've got it set to 6 feet because that covers most of the space that we see within a ceiling plan. Most ceilings, they only have 4 or 5 feet of space, if we're lucky. So 6 feet is going to make sure that I'm getting everything that I need. So I'll go ahead and hit the auto spool again. I've already got my length put in. Here I can set a weight. I'm not going to limit mine by weight. The client might ask us, hey, I only want my spools to weigh this much. And we can say, fine, we can give it to you that way. But in this case, I'm not going to limit it by weight, so I'm going to keep it, I'm going to give it a kind of unrealistic number. So let's give it a value of 1 million pounds. I'm pretty sure anything that I spool, that's within these dimensions is not going to exceed 1 million pounds. It's just crazy. The last option that I have is the spool full length parts. It might be necessary that anytime you've got a full length, more so maybe on the pipe side where you've got a 20-foot stick, that you want to keep that 20-foot stick of pipe in a single spool. If you have this checked, eVolve's going to recognize that that 20-foot stick of pipe is a full length piece, and it's going to give it its own spool. In this case, I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to hit, I've got everything set up, I'm going to hit OK, and then eVolve's going to prompt me to select the first piece. I'm going to select this first piece of this return system, it's going to say, well, which direction you want to go. If I had pieces on this other side, I'd click over here. But in this case, all my pieces exist on this side of that, so I'm going to click over here in this general direction. And once I'm done, eVolve lets me know how many spools this is going to be broken into based off of the criteria I laid out. I'll hit OK. And now it's going to ask me, well, what do you want to name your spools? So since I'm dealing with duct, I'm going to start with my trade abbreviation. That's MD for mechanical duct. The next thing I'm going to put is my system abbreviation. I'm spooling this green return air, so I'm going to put an RA for return air. The next thing is I'm going to give it a number. I always start with what level this is on. This is on level 1, so I'm going to give it a 1. And then since this is the first spool that I'm doing, I'm going to start at 0, 1. I can choose to hit this create sheets on finish. I'm not going to do that. This is a great option if you only have 1 or 2 spools that you're creating, you just want to create the sheets real quick, you can keep that on. I'd be wary about using this if you had, say, 100 spools, because you hit that, eVolve's immediately going to process and you're going to be dead in the water for 30 minutes to an hour as it does its thing. So I like my number. I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to do its thing. I mean, it went ahead and it assembled that, and I can continue that process for my other systems. So auto spool, keep my constraints the same, click for my supply, click in a general direction, lets me know how many spools are going to be kicked out, hit OK. This case, I'm spooling medium pressure supply air, so we will type in MPSA instead of that RA for medium pressure supply air. Again, start at level 1, first spool of medium pressure. Going to keep this unchecked, hit OK, and it's going to generate the spools. In this case, it gave me some things that I don't necessarily want. I'm trying to maximize the amount of pieces that I get. These small pieces that didn't get spooled, I can include them on here. So I'm going to click into my assembly, hit edit, add, and add those in real quick. Hit finish. This spool right here, there's no reason why we can't really include that little short piece, this little turn onto this main branch line. So I'm going to disassemble those pieces, click into this assembly, edit assembly, and pick out the pieces that I want to add and hit finish. Now it's all grouped together. And I've got some low pressure that I can do here, so auto spool, same constraints. Gonna choose my first piece, general direction, 3 spools. I'm gonna swap this out to LPSA 101, okay, and it broke it into 3 pieces. You might notice somewhat of a trend here is it includes the tap on the main runs, but anytime there's something coming off, it breaks the spool there. In most cases, that's exactly what we want, but there's no reason why we can't include this on here. So I'm going to disassemble those, edit, and add my pieces and finish. Then we can do what we need to for these remaining ones. Left off at 102. Actually, I'm going to undo that. and we'll auto spool, choose that, left off at 104, hit OK, auto spool, OK, and I've set up a keyboard shortcut, AES, that lets me auto spool pretty quickly. Hit OK, and there I have it. I've gone ahead and I've spooled all that. Auto spool, helped me out. It wasn't perfect along the way, but that's where we come in. We make sure that it's not only is it it's just a tool to help us get to where we need to.